As the wind erodes and the water corrodes, altering everything we think we know, but we don't. It's all temporary, and it used to, but now the thought doesn't scare me or keep my feet from following one after another until I slumber. Then my mind, not my feet, wander and dream of people and places I'll never see again. I've mended as much mental anguish as I can, and now I try to use this language to take these thoughts from my head to my pen. Cause though I don't speak of my dead friends or the circumstances, often the blow never softens or yields. I'm in a desolate field, lonesome stargazing, night blazing, chasing traces of remembrance and reverence of relevant friends and acquaintances, and faceless and nameless names and faces. And while my mind is racing through these photo albums and quotations, all these people and places far from me, for only land and stars I see when I'm outside of the Mile High City, which is not my city, for I was born 1,000 miles northeast of there, in the land of beer and lakes and pistol fire on MLK's birthday, where there is no minorities and segregation's mandatory. But that's a whole nother story altogether, and no matter the weather or hardships that any place brings, I'll still laugh when people shiver and say it's freezing, or say, hey, no, wait, I already had 18 mixed drinks, but I guess it's a Midwest thing, and I'm a mess from a dirty city and brought most of this filth I've gathered with me.
Let's talk about accountability, episode 27 of Experience Andy Weins Live. And today we're going to dive into accountability, personal accountability, accountability in your relationships, accountability to your goals and dreams or aspirations, and how language can shape that ultimate accountability. Coming up after the verse.
My work labors on as lovers sleep in each other's arms, remaining calm and collect. I begin my self-reflection process of redemption. Honestly, I don't know where this road leads, or if I'm even going. Could be rowing upstream, or worse, chasing my dreams to the peak, to finally be somebody doing something with what I have, rather than saying again and again that I can't and I won't anymore from this day forward. Cause Lord knows the past is set in stone, the present is yours to mold and to use for future uses. I know I'm a nuisance, I'm told, cause I'm neither young nor giant nor gnome. I don't sleep on these streets usually, though I've made thrones of my own. I don't sit well with idle hands, though don't know what to do when I'm home all alone. I'm a menace thrown from society, and as it lies to me, I'll smile silently as others do as they please. I am watching and listening, and I'm grinning all the while, cause sometimes all you can really do is smile. So as the work labors on, I'll keep on singing my songs, and this day's never done. We just keep on spinning around that sun, and well, through all these miles and trials, all I've learned to do is smile. Is to smile.
Here we go. Welcome to episode 27 of Experience Andy Weins Live. As always, we're going to kick things off with gratitude, get to the business of why we are here today, and then we'll talk about what we're going to talk about. So first and foremost, gratitude. This weekend, I had the opportunity to go up north to a gun raffle, which come to find out, in order to describe the word or the phrase gun raffle, you need to use the word gun and raffle. And so if you've never experienced a gun raffle, go out and then you can describe it maybe better than I can, because after experiencing it, other than people walking around with guns, fried chicken, and rednecks, that's kind of the atmosphere. Anyhow, gratitude. I've been going to this gun raffle for as long as I can recall, 30 years, probably since I was 8, 9, 10 years old. And I am grateful that I get to do something like that with my family every year. So my extended family, this is a big deal to them. They're all part of this gun club, and we live down in the city. They live up in the country. And so I've been going all these years, and I realized how grateful I was to spend a lot of time with my Aunt Nancy this year. And I'm grateful that my parents shipped me up to the farm over the summers. Grateful that I had a lot of time one-on-one with my aunts and uncles. Often I meet people that they only, spend time with their cousins or aunts and uncles, like at parties 3 or 4 times a year, family reunions. And my parents, I was a hellion. My parents had 2 young kids. And so, from 6, 7 until, 12, 13, when I got a job, I would get shipped up north every summer. And I would kind of bounce between my aunts and uncles and primarily my grandparents. I would spend a couple of days with my cousin Leah and her mom and dad, and a couple of days with my uncle Gary and my aunt Nancy, who lived across the street, and some days with my uncle Mike. And I really got a chance to have an individual relationship with aunts and uncles. And where I had conflict and competitiveness maybe in my household, when I was in their household, there was always a guest. And I felt that I complimented the family, and then they complimented me, and we had really a lot of collaboration. And I found myself when, my parents would tell me something, and it's like, well, I don't want you to tell me this because you legally have to. While with my aunts and uncles, when they told me stuff, they were genuine mentors towards me. And I was always a lot more patient and understanding, listening to them at a young age. And now I'm 40, and I lean on them for their mentorship and guidance. So I'm very thankful to have a great relationship with aunts and uncles on both sides, my mom and dad's side. Growing up was definitely much more on my dad's side, going up north. And so that's what I'm grateful for. Great mentors early in my life that came in the form of aunts and uncles. All right. Business. The Experience Andy Weins Live is now available as a podcast. So we are 27 episodes into it. We are releasing 5 episodes a week for the next 5 weeks. 6 weeks, I suppose, once it'll get caught up. So for those that want to binge listen, it's available. Then this all sparked because someone the other day said, hey, where can I listen to your podcast? And I was like, oh, here. And then turns out, no. So I talked to Taylor, and he's like, yeah, we just got to press a few buttons and turn it into a podcast. So Taylor pressed the buttons, and now it's available on a podcast for those that want to listen and enjoy without the video. So Spotify, Apple Music, all the places you get your podcasts. So you can check out this show and share it with others. All right. Now let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. So at 3:26 or 15:26 for my military friends, I was downstairs getting my cup of coffee. Don't worry, it's decaf. And my brother was there, and Blake, our HR guy, and I go, hey, I'm going to go live in 4 minutes, and I don't have a topic yet. And Blake said, how about accountability? So I said, yeah, let's jump into accountability. And why that's relevant, that backstory, is because I have some amazing people in my life that hold me accountable. Blake is a prime example. Blake is a person I pay to do HR third party for a company. And yet ultimately my job is to serve him. And so because he holds me accountable, right? The opposite mindset of most like Fortune 500 companies, well, we're very highly successful. And now even today, Taylor texts me always on a Monday morning, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Hey, what's the topic for today? And he's holding me accountable. He's holding me accountable for my goals and my dreams because I gave him permission to do so. And so much as I actually pay him to hold me accountable. Right. And I watched Blake sent me the video, the Simon Sinek video the other day about how leaders come to be, right? Leaders think that no, employees work for them. And it's like, no, leaders work for the employees so that those employees can work to produce the thing, the widget, the service, whatever it is, right? It's our job as leaders to work for others. And so one of the first things you can do with accountability is have your staff, your kids, the people you otherwise think of as subordinates, hold you accountable and see how that works and see how that feels. Because in order to be a great leader, you must be a good follower first. And so when you give permission people to hold you accountable, and they do, you get this satisfaction in your life. And the way you do that is really simple. First and foremost, you've got to let people know what matters to you, right? What is your goal, your dream, your aspiration? What is that BHAG, that big, hairy, audacious goal? Every week, I give you the opportunity as the audience to hold me accountable. I sit here from my pulpit, right? From my place of the mountain of righteousness and say, hey, these are the words I'm going to say. And this is the way this is my ideal. And then I go out and be human and be fallible and say things that are inconsistent with my values and beliefs and my aspirations because I fail like everybody else. And yet you, the audience, hold me accountable because I made it very clear. Here's my BHAG. I want to share the stage with Jordan Peterson. I want to be on the Joe Rogan podcast. I want to have a full-time career traveling 200 days a year, speaking to audiences about the ideals I see in the world. Those are my BHAGs. And when I act in a way inconsistent with those goals, then I demand the audience of life call me out on my bullshit. I demand people hold me accountable because the first step in accountability is having that self awareness, right? That vulnerability of what do you want out of this world? First step is knowing. Second step is going out and telling people, right? It's very similar to my 3 steps to life, right? Do the fucking thing, tell the fucking world, and show the fuck up. Because then the step 3 is show up. Show up and be accountable to yourself and those that you share your dreams and goals with. And so for language, it's very simple. I find myself consistently saying, I have to do XYZ. No, I don't have to, right? Because I know Dr. Bill Crawford, I talk about this in my book, one of my favorite lines. I was 3/4 of the way writing my book before I even met Dr. Bill. I interviewed him and he turned out to be the first chapter because he said something that was extremely important to me, which was in life, there's only 3 things you have to do. You have to be born, you have to die, and you have to live. Everything else is a choice. And so now when I say things like, oh, I have to go to this, no, I choose to. I don't have to go to the gym. I choose to go to the gym because here are the benefits. I don't have to go to this networking event. I get to go to this networking event because I get to be a business owner. I get to grow my business. I get to inspire and empower and employ other individuals. All the things I get to do when I choose to go to the networking event, when I choose to have a positive mindset and gratitude. Not even positive, let's just say gratitude. When I get to do something, when I show gratitude, then in our step 3, right, showing up, I'm going to show up in a better way than if I have to be there and it's belabored and I'm bored or I'm agitated or I feel like there's, I got the FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. I want to be somewhere else. No, I have to remind myself that gratitude that I get to do all these things in life. And that's the language barrier that I have sometimes, right? I have a language barrier and I choose to avoid using the I have to, right? I can own it and say, yep, this is where I struggle. And this is what I'm doing about it. It's not an excuse. It's not a denial. It's not a blame. It's very simple. This is where I'm at today. And this is what I need support on. And then I give other people the permission to hold me accountable to all the things that I said I was going to do. When I had a clear mind, a clear heart, a clear vision of the world, these are the things I said I was going to do. And so accountability starts with knowing who you are and what you want. And it continues when you start using language. It continues when you use the language inside your head. Sometimes you don't say it out loud, and yet you still give yourself excuses for not doing something. I give myself excuses most mornings when I hit the snooze. I give myself excuses when I go home and I choose to watch Netflix instead of choosing to read a book, right? And when I put measures in place to hold myself accountable, then I start behaving in the manner consistent with my BHAG. Because we have instrumental influence, right? And instrumental is, hey, these are the rewards and punishment system, right? That's the simplest way, right? And then there's instrumental and then the intrinsic, right? Eventually you do this because it's become part of who you are. And at first, most times when you think of instrumental, when you use instruments, it gets you closer there. I was about to say you need instruments. Some people have the discipline; they do not need them. And yet, with children, right, and employees, very clear and concise. Hey, when you do this, reward. When you do that, punishment. Right? A very simple, right, methodology. Right? Carrot versus stick. Now, you can also choose to say, hey, let's focus on the carrots. Let's focus on all the right behaviors and let's focus and put our energy on that. It's still instrumental, right? People are still acting in such a way so that they get the benefit, the reward for their behavior. Same with me, right? Sometimes when it comes to accountability, I remember years ago when I was writing a paper, I tell myself for every 5 pages I write, I can go watch an episode of Shark Tank. And so it used to take me 3 hours to write 5 pages, whatever the number was. I got it down to like an hour. So I would write 5 pages. I'd go in the other room. I'd binge watch 47 minutes of Shark Tank and get a snack. And then I would go back to writing. And then I would do that all day. Right. And I would write instead of saying I'm going to write for 8 hours. Right. And maybe get 10 pages done. No, I would write 5 hours hard. I get 25 pages done. Now I'd have to go back and edit and do all these other things. And then eventually I got excited about writing for writing's sake because I got good at it. And I no longer had the desire to have the snack, no longer had the desire to watch another episode of Shark Tank because intrinsically I got motivated to do the thing. It took that instrumental motivation. It took the accountability. It took those barriers of left and right for me to then intrinsically say, hey, well, this is how I do it. It's no different than driving. I lost my driver's license twice before the age of 20 because I was really good at speeding, right? And now, right, I got speeding tickets, seatbelt tickets, driving without a license tickets, right? Because I kept driving because I needed to go to work and right? And now I choose to drive by the speed limit. I choose to wear my seatbelt, right? I no longer drink, so the chance of drinking and driving has gone from maybe to zero, right? Because intrinsically, I did all these things with rewards and punishment, and eventually I said, okay, this is actually how I want to live my life. I no longer need the bumpers of life to tell me when I am doing right and when I'm fucking up. This is now intrinsic within me. Now I own this, and now it's a deep-seated value. It's below the surface. We think about the iceberg, right? You have the things on top. We think about the actions and activities and things we see, the things that we're conscious of, and then we have all this subconscious stuff, right? It's like, why do I subconsciously, wear my seatbelt and drive the speed limit? Is because that it matters to me. It's important that I'm safe, right? Because as you get older, your risk aversion goes up and right? And so it went from this thing of accountability where it has to have to, right? Because there's, as my mom would say, consequences and repercussions. Man, I heard that a lot growing up as a kid, right? That basic accountability to intrinsically, I want to be a good person. I want to be a safe driver. I want to make sure that I get myself and everybody else with me and everybody else that I drive near to their final destination safely. While 17, 18, or 19-year-old Andy was, I don't care. I'm going to drive without a license. I'm going to drive a shitty car. I'm going to drive fast. I'm not going to wear my seatbelt. I'm not going to pay attention to the world. And I needed those instrumental rewards and punishments in order to get me to intrinsically, live a certain way. And it's no different than accountability. And so my challenge to you this week and all weeks is right. We talked about your behaviors, right? We've talked about what activities and actions, what behaviors are you doing that get you closer to your goal, right? So first, let's determine our goal. We've done that work. Now, once you've done that work, what actions and behaviors get you closer to that? And right now, today, right, when you fail, which you will, because that is life, right? Fail. First attempt in learning. It's like my new favorite acronym for failure, is because failure is part of life, right? What rewards or punishments are you going to give yourself, right? When you fail and when you succeed, right? Maybe you only reward yourself when you succeed, and that feels pretty darn good. Hey, when I do this, I get that, right? Let's look at the example I talked about writing that paper. When I write 5 pages, this is what I get. That was it. There was no punishment. The punishment was doing the work, I guess. The punishment was delayed gratification of getting to watch Shark Tank or eat a snack, right? So I only rewarded myself when I did the right things. So what I would actually even argue there, right? Accountability. Give yourself credit when you do the thing. A couple weeks back, even I'm 40 years old, I started going to the gym. I was really excited when I hit 100 workouts. I talked about it on this show. I hit 100 workouts. That made me feel good. 100. That's the most workouts I've ever done where in the Army wasn't paying me, right? And so intrinsically, I knew it was important to go to the gym, and I made sure I went to the gym week in and week out. And I talk about going to the gym consistently because it's still something that I'm building in as an intrinsic value of mine, right? And still that instrumental, that little, hey, attaboy, put your name on the right. My name is on the board to say I did 100 workouts. You know what? That makes me feel pretty darn proud. And at 40 years old, okay, 100 workouts and my stupid little name on the board is better than not doing those 100 workouts and not talking about it and not holding myself accountable and not holding others accountable. Because here's the beautiful thing. This is the next phase. This is when you can become the beacon. Once you start holding yourself accountable to your goals, dreams, aspirations, your BHAGs, once you start using your language to hold yourself accountable, you'll start listening to hear what other people are saying. And you'll start hearing them saying, I can't, I won't, I don't. You'll hear them say, I'm thinking, I'm talking, I'm trying. And really all they're doing is lying. And now you have the opportunity within your own speech. You have your opportunity within the speech you give out to the world. You have the opportunity with the speech you hear from others when they say, I can't, I won't, I don't. What do you do? What will you do? What are you able to do? You'll start reshaping your own language. You'll start pushing other people to reshape their language. And when they don't give you permission to reshape their language, when they don't give you permission to push them to challenge their goals, when they don't give you permission to hold them accountable, say less. They're not a person that wants to grow. They're not a person that really wants to achieve their goals more than they want to complain. When people talk about, I'm thinking, I'm talking, I'm trying, and there's no action activity, well, that song and dance got really fucking old, right? And then you can choose right? Do you want to be around people that hold themselves accountable, that want to achieve more, that are growth minded, that use empowering language, that have a positive mindset in life? Or do you want to be around people that do not do all those behaviors? And that's a choice you can make. So this week, it is very simple. Accountability starts with you. Accountability starts with, what is the goal? Be vulnerable. It ought to scare you, that goal you have, right? It's better to aim high and miss than aim low and hit every time. Do something that scares you. Put it out there. I'm 27 episodes into this, and I'm still figuring this shit out. And here I am showing up week in and week out. I turn off my camera. I hook up the microphone, and I stare at the camera here. I turn off the camera here so I don't see myself, right? I let myself go. I let you guys into my world. I'm vulnerable. I'm sharing my goals. I'm giving you permission to a point where I'm demanding you to hold me accountable so that I get where I want to go in life, because I was put on this place, put in this on this earth, put in this place to do more than what I'm doing here today. Here, right now, is a good place to be. Here is not where I want to be tomorrow, a week from now, a year from now. I want to be there. And I ask you to hold me accountable. My challenge to you is simple. The opportunity you have is to have the vulnerability and the transparency, the humility to say, this is where I'm at, this is where I want to be, and these are the things I need to do in my life. This is the language I need to shape. These are the people that I need to surround myself with so that I am accountable to my goals, dreams, or aspirations. You have now removed yourself from the avatar, the body, the vessel you are, right? And now you've made your goal bigger than your ego, your goal bigger than your insecurity, your goal bigger than your vulnerability. And when you chase that, when you bring people with you, you will hold yourself and others accountable, and they'll hold you accountable. And that, my friend, is a beautiful thing. Do the fucking thing. Tell the fucking world. Show the fuck up. Hold yourself and others accountable, and you will eventually live the life you've always wanted to live. Between now and then, I'll see you next week.
Through all these miles and trials, all I've learned to do is smile. Is to smile.